Shalom, shalom. This is Brother Anal, and so just doing a video here today, and just want to first of all give all praises to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem Requak Wadash. Want to give double honors to the elders, apostles, and the bishop of Great Millstone. Today we're going to be talking about Job. And we're going to just go ahead on right into it from chapter 1, and we're going to read there and talk about Job. And so just so you know, Job was had become a very rich man, and he had many daughters and wealth and so forth. But we're going to go in there and talk about Job, and then talk about how Satan also, the sons of God were presenting themselves to God, and Satan came in among them. And so let's go to chapter 1. Now, there was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there was born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. And this is chapter 1 and 3. His substance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 she-asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, everyone his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings, according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and have cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. Now, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? In other words, he was saying, well, yeah, he fears you because you've given him everything he wants. He got oxen, he's got all these children, the man is rich. What else could he possibly want? So Satan answered the Lord and said, Does Job fear God for naught? Has not thou made a hedge about him and about his house and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power. So here God is showing that Satan does what he wants, what he allows him to do. So Satan had to go and get permission from God to touch Job's substance and his house and his oxen and his children and all of that. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power, only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So God is telling him, you can't touch his life. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house, that there came a messenger unto Job and said, The oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding beside them. And the Sabeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only escaped alone to tell thee. So here now, Satan is putting his hands on Job, and his belongings, and his beasts in the field. And while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, The fire of God is fallen from heaven, and have burned up the sheep and the servants, and have consumed them. And I am only escaped alone to tell thee. So now here it is, as Job was thinking, wow, I just lost that. So It probably didn't freak him out, because people go through that where they gain things and lose things. But then, as soon as that happened, like I said, like it says here, that a fire had fallen from heaven and burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. And so I'm pretty sure Job was probably feeling pretty bad at this point because God was beginning to try Job. Now, while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away. Yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I am only escaped alone to tell thee. And while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, thy son and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine with thy eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon men, and they are dead, and I only am escaped to tell thee. Then Job arose, and he rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshiped God. So this shows right here that Job was a man who really, really eschewed evil, and that he really, really did love God, because here's a man, he done had 3 or 4 servants come and tell him, hey, you're losing everything, your children, your oxen, you have a nation that come over here and killing people, in your, part of your inheritance from God. And Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshiped God and said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. So this shows here that Job, being a holy and a righteous man, that he really, really trusted in God. He didn't have any, Job, even though he was rich, he didn't put his trust in God. Job was a well-versed man who knew the Lord. I'm pretty sure he had known all the scriptures, and he knew the importance of serving God and not putting his trust in riches like what we see today. So we see here today, here we are in 2024, and we see rich men who have gained riches, and then all of a sudden they lost millions of dollars or billions of dollars, and they're going to go and kill themselves. Some people have even been known to go and kill themselves, their wives, and their children because they lost all of their money. But here's a holy man, Job here, who's losing everything. And he said here, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And all of this, Job did not sin or charge God foolishly. I think that's a beautiful mentality to have. And so the purpose of me bringing out this whole thing about Job is to show the importance of us not putting our trust in riches and wealth. We're living in the days now, where a 4th beast that was in Daniel's dream, being the United States, the North, the eagle. And many people are becoming very, very rich. But to say the least, some people are becoming worth $1 trillion. Back then, there was no such thing as $1 trillion. But there were probably hundreds and thousands, possibly millions, I don't know, back in that day. But it was a lot of money that Job had, being one of the richest men where he lived. And so let's go ahead on to the 2nd chapter, and let's talk more about Job, what a great man he was. This is Job 2:1. Again, there was a day when the Son of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And we see Satan doing that today. Satan is always walking to and fro through the earth, tempting men. So we see men being tempted by power, political power. We see men being tempted with, they set up these corporations and become very rich. We see men being tempted by women, and women throwing themselves at men nowadays. All of these type of things. But Job was a holy and a righteous man. And the Lord said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job? And there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man. And this is the second time around. And a perfect man and an upright man that feareth God and sheweth evil. And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. So this is God talking to Satan, saying, have you considered Job? Because I think God was taking great joy in Job being the type of man that he was. And he was telling Satan, have you considered that? This man, basically he was telling Satan, I love this man because this man trusts me. And Satan answered the Lord and said, skin for skin, yea, all that the man have will he give for his life. But put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. So Satan's telling God, let me touch his body. I took everything from him, and he's still holding fast. He's still serving you. But let me touch his body, and I can tell you he'll curse you to your face. So Satan's having this conversation with God. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. So God said, okay. And this is what God does with every day when we walk to and fro through the earth. God gives Satan the power. He said that God said, I create good and I create evil. So here, God is telling Satan, okay, I'll let you touch his body. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore blows from the soles of his foot unto his crown. His crown is talking about his head. So Satan went and smote him from the foot to the head. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down in the ashes. So at this point, that would be similar to Job having leprosy or something like that, a skin disease. But he was full of sores from the foot to his head. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die. He's taken everything you have, and now look at you, you're sick. And probably Job was laying in the bed with sores and boils and stinking, and probably had no energy, and complaining. Probably couldn't even eat. He was so sick, probably throwing up all of that. But he said unto her, thou speakest, when the wife said, dost thou still retain thy integrity? Curse God and die. She was telling him, you need to curse God. God's not with you, man. Look at you. But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive God at the hand of God? And shall we not receive evil? In all this did not Job sin with his lips. Now, when Job's 3 friends heard all the evil that was come upon him, they came everyone from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shehud, Zophar the Naamathite, for they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. So his friends came by, and when you get sick and you're losing everything, people are gonna start talking about you, So I'm pretty sure this is what happened. And people say, hey, I want to go and see. Let's go see what Job, because Job was very rich. He's lost everything. And so they came to visit him, probably some out of concern and probably some out of wonder, like, wow, how could this have happened? This would be equivalent to somebody rich like Elon Musk or somebody like that losing everything, his family, his all of that. But Elon Musk not being a holy man, so I can't really use him as an example. But this would be this rich man is really just losing everything. And so his friends came by to comfort him. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off and knew him not, I should say, they lifted up their voice and wept, and they rent every one of his mantle and sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven. So they started to say, these are really some good close friends who would have stuck around to, to weep with Job, because they saw his condition was really, really bad. So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great. And after this, this is Job, the 3rd chapter. After this, opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. Job was in pretty bad shape. He had lost everything, lost his children, lost all of his assets. He was in sores, and his wife was telling him, "Curse God and die. You're done with." And after this, 7 days they sitting around weeping and crying and trying to comfort him. After this is Job, the 3rd chapter. Job opened his mouth and cursed his day. Let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which it was said, there is a man-child conceived. Let that day be darkness. Let not regard it from above, neither let the light shine upon it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined unto the days of the year. Let it not come to the number of the months. Lo, let that night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein. Let them curse it that curse the day, who are ready to raise up their mourning. So Job is beginning to feel bad for himself, so he starts cursing the day and just cursing everything that's around that's happening. But he didn't curse God. He was just cursing, saying, I'm in bad shape. That's what he was basically saying there. And he probably didn't want to talk to his friends, his family. He was just in total distress. So, and Job said, this is Job 3rd chapter in the 9th verse, let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark, let it look for the light but have none, neither let it see the dawning of the day. And Job spoke, to all his friends about everything that he was suffering. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip over the 3rd chapter and go into the 4th chapter here. And this is Job, the 4th chapter, when Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, if we essay to commune with thee, wilt thou be grieved? But who can withhold himself from speaking? Behold, thou hast instructed many, and thou hast strengthened the weak hands. So this is a man of God telling Job, you've been a good man all your life. And you've strengthened many, and you've helped the weak in everything. Thy words have upholden him that was falling, and thou hast strengthened the feeble knees. But now it has come upon thee, and thou faintest. It touches thee, and thou art troubled. Is not this thy fear, thy confidence, thy hope, and the upwardness of thy ways? Remember, I pray thee, whoever perish, being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off? Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. By the blast of God they perish, and by the breath of his nostrils are they consumed. And so Eliphaz the Temanite just kept talking to Job about, everything that was going on. And he was just telling Job, hey, bring all of this into remembrance. And now, but Job held on to believing in God. So we're going to go ahead and talk about it. I'm not going to go and read it because I'm going to cut this a little short, but here's what happened after all of these things that had happened. I'll make this short. Job kept his faith and his belief in God totally. He completely believed that God would deliver him through all of this, and God did. And in the end, God doubled everything that Job had lost. He gave him more children. He gave him more asses, which would be donkeys and cows or whatever type of farm animals he had. Gave him more children and just blessed him with more wealth than he had ever had. So I'm not going to hold this up up long, but just wanted to say, talk about the importance of us believing in God and holding our faith in God, that whatever God put us through, the point of this whole lesson is that whatever God put us through, that we continue to trust Him and believe in Him and believe that He will do what's good for us in the end. Don't put your trust, the whole point of this lesson is don't put your trust in riches and wealth, because we see that happening today. And here it is, we're in 2024, and we see people with great wealth. And I'm pretty sure pretty soon, with us living in the last days, the people are going to be losing a lot of wealth, and it's important that we're stable in the Lord, because if we lose everything, you don't want to go out there and be getting mad, shooting and killing folks, or go out there and kill yourself or your own children because you've lost everything. So that's the importance of this lesson. Hopefully this was a good lesson for everyone to think about and hopefully take in consideration, because as we know right now that the United States, there's been something like 190 some nations, probably 159 of those nations have signed over to a new currency with China and Russia, and that's called the BRIC nations. And so we see that happening, where the United States is losing its financial status, and over time, people are gonna be losing money, and you're gonna see it could get very dangerous out here. As people start losing money and riches, and people wanting to start robbing and killing each other and things, all that type of stuff, or they may even kill themselves and their children. We've seen it happen here in the United States, in this beast nation that we're in. So just wanted to give all praise and honor again to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Ruach Radash. Double honors to all the elders of the Great Millstone. Keep the faith, and keep preaching, whether they forbear, whether they hear or whether they forbear. All praise to our Lord, Yahweh Shai.